Welcome to the Improve Our podcast. Here you'll find conversations and practical advice that will help you develop your team leadership skills, improve employee motivation and performance, improve work relationships and communication, along with other areas related to people management. If you are an entrepreneur with a team, a business owner planning to have one, or a team leader in a company, this podcast is for you. I'm Daniela Tancău, an HR consultant and founder of Improve Work. For over 20 years, I've been in the HR field, continuously learning and gaining experience across its various areas. On this podcast, I support those in team leadership roles, whether they are business owners or CEOs, in finding practical solutions to the challenges they encounter with their teams. You may be facing some of these challenges too. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to stay updated on new episodes. Let's dive into today's topic. Hi everyone, I'm glad you are here for another episode of the Improve Work podcast. Please subscribe to stay updated on new episodes. It's free, you don't need to pay anything. And if you are listening on an audio podcast platform and want to watch this episode and the previous ones, just head over to Spotify or my podcast page, improvework.ro/podcast/. All right. Today's guest is Rachid Wehbi, the founder and CEO of Sell the Trend, an e-commerce technology company. And in this episode, we talk about how to balance autonomy, feedback, and results when assigning new projects to employees, particularly how frequently a leader should provide feedback when an employee has a high level of autonomy in his or her work. Rachid has encountered situations where the results of these projects exceeded his expectations, as well as situations where they were far from what he wanted. And what I share in this episode is meant to help him and anyone facing the same challenge understand from the beginning which employee would be a good fit for a specific project, what difficulties that employee might have, and how to adapt leadership and feedback based on the employee and the project. Rachid's team and company operate in the technology industry, providing an e-commerce platform that helps entrepreneurs with online stores discover winning products, analyze trends, and grow profitable online stores. If you are an entrepreneur, CEO, or team leader, this episode will give you practical solutions for balancing autonomy and feedback while keeping projects on track and achieving good results. Let's dive in. Welcome to the podcast, Rush. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Daniela. Glad to be here.
So we have an interesting topic today. We'll discuss about a challenge that you told me about feedback loops when you assign a new task or projects to your employees. And it's not about day-to-day activities, right? It's about new tasks for them.
That's correct. Yes, like a more of an extensive project. That's correct.
And the challenge is, or the question is, how frequent to provide feedback in these cases, in these situations?
Yeah, so the challenge is, especially when assigning tasks to completely autonomous employees where they, they don't need to be handheld, they're not brand new, and giving them a big project and kind of like the inner workings of this project and the feedback loop where, once the initial version of the project, for example, is launched, is having that feedback loop where, how is the project performing? How did the initial going from scope to a plan to implementation work, and then going back and reiterating through that entire process, so that not only is it developed and released based on the initial plan, but also how is it being received? How are we iterating? How are we improving? And that entire feedback loop. That's correct.
So I think that one important thing that you can do before even assigning a task is to identify what knowledge, what skills and competencies that project or task required from the person who will perform that project. And I think that this will help you to to see what is needed for that project, and then analyze if you have employees who have those qualities, those competencies that are required by that project. And I think that it's a good practice for any company to have a full understanding, a clear understanding of their employees' competencies and skills. And you can have even a database with this kind of information. And I think that hiring interviews are very important in creating this knowledge about your employees, and also observing their work in your own company. And if they have been with your company for a long period of time, as you said, you already know what they are capable of, what they can do, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you do this step before thinking who will be a good fit for a project? Do you think about what that project involve in terms of competencies, knowledge, information?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are obviously assigning projects to the people that have competencies in whatever we're assigning to them. But I mean, I think you raise a good point in vetting kind of like that competency a bit more, especially when a project requires, this iteration that I'm talking about. So I think that's really a good suggestion, actually.
And having a database with your employees' competencies and skills, I think that it's useful in in any types of projects, or even in advancements, in promotions,
Yeah.
in this kind of situations. And if you have, for example, two or more employees who are suitable from this perspective, from the perspective of skills and competencies, how do you choose between employees who could perform that new task?
Yeah, right now the way that we choose is basically on availability, right? If somebody is already obviously working on something, he's suitable or she's suitable for that project, but they are either finishing something or still in kind of stuck into a different project that they're working on. We're really, I mean, that's especially if both employees are very matched in terms of skill set or
Mm-hmm.
competencies or abilities about that specific task. We're looking at availability and also any potential new projects that we might be using that they might actually be more competent for. So instead of assigning to a project that might take 2 months to complete, we know that we have something on the horizon that we want to implement, and that person is more competent for that. So usually we would pick the other person or another member of the team. So it's two things basically. It's what are they working on right now, and also what can they potentially be working on in, let's say, 3 weeks. We want to make sure to hold them back and not get them involved in a 2 month project.
It makes sense, of course, that you think about their availability. I will also say that it's important to take in consideration their interests, how they want to develop professionally, because I think that if they are motivated by the task that you assign to them, they will be more willing to give their efforts to and succeed in that project, rather than if the task is not so challenging for them.
That's actually a great point, right? So I mean, I feel like a lot of the team members here are kind of like go-getters. So it's like whatever, they're like excited to work on any project, especially obviously in their area of expertise, right?
Mhm.
But kind of like the personal development component that you mentioned is something that we are, actively, query our employees about, what are they interested in? And obviously, I know pretty much everybody on a personal level, so I kind of know where they want to head
Uh-huh.
professionally and kind of what they're excited about. And for example, for development, we have a few developers, and the ones that are more into future AI development and new technologies are the ones that would assign those kind of roles to it. The ones that are more into back end processes, maybe databases and that kind of stuff, we would assign those kind of projects too. So yeah, so absolutely we keep that in mind when we're assigning tasks for sure.
Mhm. It's very good that you already know your employees from this point of view, and you know what are their interests, because yes, it will help you to allocate better task and keep their engagement.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, obviously. I mean, it's just human nature. if you're not interested in something, however much you want to do a good job for yourself, for the company, if you're
Hmm.
not interested in it as much, is just you're not going to push that little extra mile, which is which when you need which we always look for and encourage for any kind of area of our business, right? So it makes sense.
All right, right. And another aspect that I would consider is the level of difficulty of that new task for the employee that you consider for to assign that task. Because if it's too easy or it's too challenging, it could be a problem.
Yeah,
If it's
yeah,
too
of course,
easy,
it makes sense.
if it's too easy, they may not find that task interested. They may, I don't know, they may avoid doing it, or maybe they will put it somewhere and do something else. Or if it's too challenging, they may feel overwhelmed, or they may not trust that they can do that job. And of course, that they will not succeed, because if they don't think that they can do it, they will not do it, and
Yeah,
they will not try even
yeah, makes sense.
to do that job.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, yeah, and like I said, a lot of our employees are, like go-getters. So it's kind of like even if the job is too easy, they'll do it. But I understand the concern. I think it's what you raise actually is another good point. Is you know, potentially assigning more of the easier tasks to more junior members of the team,
yes,
because that will kind of, for them, it might be challenging. For some of
yes,
the more experienced
yes,
members, it's an
yes.
easy task. But for the new junior employees, to them, it's challenging. It's always good to have something challenging that they can then lean on the more experienced members of the team for guidance, which we obviously will always encourage. But yeah, that's actually an excellent point.
Yes, and if they have a little bit of challenge with that task, they can develop, they can grow, and keep them engaged in that activity, and not get bored with what they are
For sure.
doing,
For sure. That
or
makes sense.
get into a mood of doing things mechanically.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let me ask you, how do you know if they like a new task that you assign to them? Do you investigate? You say that you already know their interests. Do
Mm.
you check again in
Yeah.
yeah?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm always very clear and consistent with making sure that whatever I assign somebody, that they are honest with me if they feel like they are qualified to do this particular task, right? And even
Mm-hmm.
though a lot of, like I was saying before, a lot of members of the teams are, willing to do anything, I kind of, I approach it in a very honest way, like, hey, do you feel comfortable with this specific task? Are there other pieces of it that you might need somebody else from the team to help with?
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to finish it completely on your own? Do you need any other support? And I know from experience that, especially for people from not brand new, but from existing members of the team that have been with us for a little bit longer, they're pretty honest with coming back and saying, hey, like, I'm not really sure how to do this piece. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
other person can help with this piece, or and I usually like to put people. Obviously, we do especially for a project for a particular group. For example, let's say our ads group or our organic promotion group. We're doing team meetings, right? We're doing team meetings with everybody on the team so that everybody knows what the tasks are being worked on, and we're
Mm-hmm.
pretty honest, saying, hey, you're going to be working on this. Do you need help from anybody else from the team? And then that's when the other team members can contribute something, or if they say no, I'm pretty clear about it, then everybody, not only does everybody else on the team know what we're working on, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
where
Great.
we're heading, but also that's the perfect time for them to basically raise their hand and say, hey, I need help with this or I need help with that. So we definitely have that piece working.
This is great. It's a good practice, and it helps very much. I would make a distinction here between competencies and their interests, if they like that activity, because they can have the competencies and don't like the task.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I faced a situation like this a few years back, where one of our developers basically came to me at one point, and they're like, hey, I like the work, I like what I'm doing, but I feel like I'm underutilized because
Mm-hmm.
this kind of specific work, it's not interesting to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll do it. Obviously, I want to stay part of the team and all, but it's this kind of work is just not interesting to me. I would love if you can involve me in this other project that is more exciting to me. And then of course I did, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
we're able to kind of move people around and switch things around. But yes, absolutely. Like I always encourage people to be honest with me,
Mm-hmm.
and we've definitely done this in the past where people have come up and they're like, "Hey, I can do this, no problem. It's easy for me, but I would love to challenge myself a little bit by moving on to this other team that is
Mm-hmm.
working on something, a different part of the application." So yes, absolutely, we definitely encourage this, and we've had situations where that's happened before.
It's great that your employees are confident and open to come to you and say these things, because in some companies they are afraid to go and communicate this. And
Yeah.
it's great that they don't avoid these kinds of discussions.
For sure. For sure.
And you can ask them when you present them a new activity if they are interested in doing that specific activity. If you have the luxury to assign to another.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, no. And I think what you're pointing to, Daniela, is being more consistent with it, right? Like sometimes I'm, guilty as anybody saying, "Hey, this is what needs to get done. You're available, go do it," right?
Mhm,
And but there is also that being more consistent with, "Hey, is this something that you feel, obviously it needs to get done, but is this something that you feel excited about working on? Does it
mhm,
check some of those boxes for you in terms of your interest in the topic or the task?" And being a bit more consistent with it, I think will definitely help, because then it will not only will it allow me to basically it will allow me to learn more about a particular person's interest, and then that will feed into future plans of what kind of projects to assign them. So yeah, I think being more consistent with it definitely will help.
mhm. And yes, and after a time, you will know for sure what your employees are
Yeah.
interested in, and you don't have to repeat the same question.
Yes.
And I say this because some people are not so confident, or
True.
they are shy. They don't want
True.
to say this kind of things. They think that maybe you'll think badly
We look
about
bad on them,
them.
like,
That
hey,
yes.
they're not a team player or something like that. Absolutely,
Mhm.
for sure.
Especially if they are new in the company.
For sure.
Okay, and coming back to my first idea of comparing the skills and knowledge of what that a new task require, and knowing the skills and competencies of the employee who you assign to that task, you can see if there are gaps, if that employee needs actually support in performing that project. If they don't have all the knowledge, all the competencies, it's obviously that they will need some kind of support from you or from their colleagues.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
there could be situation in which you don't have a 100% qualified employee to perform a project, and you need to assign an employee anyway. But
Hmm.
knowing from the start these things, you know from the start that you should intervene more frequent in that project, and the
Yeah.
communication should be more, at least at the beginning when the employee is figuring out what they have to do. Your implication should be more bigger than in the case when employees are qualified.
Absolutely. And also, I feel like that would also help in future planning, right? Being able to plan projects better based on not only competencies but also interests. So
Mm-hmm,
that makes a lot more sense for sure.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And when the employee doesn't have confidence that they are able to perform the job, how do you proceed? What do you do?
Yeah, so if somebody doesn't feel confident in delivering the project, two things. Either, we have to, they have to kind of deliver it because really nobody else is available. It needs to get done. And we can't kind of hold back and say, okay, well, this other person is working on something. They'll be done in a couple of weeks. Let's hold off this project until the other person can do it. In those situations, what I like to do is involve somebody else in the project as a
Mm-hmm,
kind of a support structure, right? So have the person who doesn't feel as confident as the lead on the project, but then have other more competent for that particular task team members that are providing support, right? So whether it is in weekly meetings, bi-weekly meetings, or daily meetings, even half an hour here and there, to kind of make sure that they're on the right track. Or sometimes it is a situation where they might not be comfortable with the project, but if they are given a more detailed plan by
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's more senior, they're able to accomplish it better. A lot of times I find that when somebody says they are not comfortable with it, is they just don't know
Mm-hmm.
the parameters. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not really sure what all the pieces are. They might be comfortable in some of the pieces and they know how to do it, but they don't really know the overall picture. The project's maybe too big for them. They've never
Mm-hmm.
done something of that scale. But it's also, like you mentioned before, it's also important to kind of keep stretching people's capabilities so they
Mm-hmm.
can grow, right? Like there's really no point it's nice, and people are not machines, right? You don't want them to kind of keep doing the same thing over and
Yes,
over and over
yes.
again, right? They're gonna get bored, they're gonna start slipping, they're gonna, not be motivated, the work is gonna suffer. So it's also good to kind of stretch people's capabilities a little bit, and they'll feel better about it. I mean, we've had many situations where people come back to me and tell me how happy they are that they were involved in this project or that project because they learned this thing or they felt that they grew or any kind of these kind of things. So
Mm-hmm.
we want to make sure we don't overload people, but at the same time, and we want to make sure to provide the support for them. But it's like you said, it's always good to give people something that's interesting to work on a little bit outside of their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very good approach and it's helpful. What I would also do, besides what you said, is to ask them what would they do in certain situations, what solutions do they have, and discuss their solutions so they understand what how their perspective is good and what are the weak points of their solutions, so they understand what is expected, what are the expectations, because if they don't have these kinds of discussions, they may come up with wrong solutions, with wrong
Yes.
decisions. But
Yes.
if you discuss them and they understand where they do wrong and what are good in their thinking, in their perspective, they can in time know what is expected from the company and come up with more suitable solutions and decisions.
Yeah. And we've had that specific, sorry to interrupt you, Daniel. We've had that specific like situations happen a few times where the more junior members were given tasks that maybe a little bit over their head, just a little bit, and without enough discussions, like you said, where they went ahead, worked on them, and then after a week, the results were like completely out of the box of what the expectation was, right? And it's just because, I mean, and it takes some responsibility, obviously, to that, or if another senior member basically drew out the plan is not, if the plan is only suitable to a certain level, but it's not suitable for a more junior member, then
Mhm.
that plan, the junior member is just not going to understand. Like they're going to
Yes,
miss so many things, right? And having those
yes.
discussions saying, hey, this is the plan.
Why
Like,
is
how would you
the
approach some of let's kind of, how would
Mhm.
you approach these pieces? And then they're going to come back and then you're going to say, no, that's like not, this is not what this up. This is not what,
Mhm.
the way to do it, right? And then maybe the plan needs to be expanded. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a very good suggestion.
Mhm. So this is a constructive feedback
Hmm.
that can be apply whenever they have difficulties and they have to go a step further
Yeah.
in the project.
Yeah.
And in the cases where employees are not confident with that project or in their capabilities, I would make more checks, frequent checks at the beginning before the project develop,
Mm-hmm.
because you need to have more communication to get them on the right track. So because if you step in after a week or two, they you can already lose time, their
Yeah.
effort, their
Yeah.
work. But if
That makes
you
sense.
check them, I don't know, after 1, 2, 3, in the first week, if you are more consistent with checking them, I think that they can you can set them on the right track and then make this the communication not so frequent.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Mhm. And another aspect that I think that is very important is how you communicate the new task, the new project, because do you have direct communication with them in person?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that it's very important uh, to be also a form of written communication, because when we just speak verbally, some information may be forgotten. They can understand some things different. They may not remember well what you said or what was established, and they may fill the gaps with their assumptions. And I think that this happens quite frequently. They could take notes during
Hmm.
those discussions, or you could also send your requirements in writing in an email or on a, I don't know, maybe you have chats, something
Hmm.
like this, because it's helpful for you too to know what you ask them to do after a week. I don't know. I think that verbal communication is a little bit volatile. It's and then you go in discussions. I didn't say that. Yes, you did. So it's. I think it's a little bit awkward. It's not recommended to waste time in these kinds of discussions or to miss some things
Hmm.
because the person didn't remember something.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, of course. I mean, like, we're definitely vigilant about writing everything down and making sure that everything is recorded, right? So, and I agree with you. Like, we're not gonna remember, right? We're not gonna remember the details, and then for obviously for the team members to go review exactly what the meeting notes were. No, yeah, absolutely. That's crucial.
So you have a form of writing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
mhm. And also check if the employee understood the task and the expected results.
Sorry,
So
expected to. Sorry,
expected
what was that?
results for
Oh, yeah, yeah,
because
yeah. Of
this
course,
sets all of you in the right place and you have a good start. But if the results are not understood, the task is not understood, you can lose time and work in wrong directions in
for sure, for
doing
sure.
something that is not good, that you don't want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's we've had that situations before, for sure.
Mhm. Do you have questions for me related to what I said or related to our topic?
Yeah, so I guess the other part is we are obviously a technology company, and
Mhm.
we use tools to kind of track and to make sure that everything is recorded. Do you have suggestions? You mentioned a database to kind of almost like a profile database for every employee, kind of what their interests are, what they're good at, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Obviously, a lot of that stuff. We don't have any kind of such database, right? It's kind of like it's in here, basically, for a lot of this stuff. But do you,
Put it
but
down.
but but besides all the stuff that we discussed, like, do you have any kind of actual tools that you recommend? Any kind of like management things that you recommend for the stuff that we discussed?
So I think that you have to adapt your behavior toward the employee you assign to the new task, taking into account their level of competencies in the regulation with the task that you assign them. This is the first thing that I would analyze first, and
Okay.
this will tell you if how frequent you need to provide feedback, how frequent you need to communicate with this employee during the whole project.
Okay, that makes sense.
If
That makes sense.
if the person needs help from other colleagues or from you, if they need the encouragement, if they don't like the task that you assign them, but you need them to do that task, you can provide more moral support, saying things like, I know that this is not your favorite task, but this is important for the company because
Hmm.
I don't know. So
Sure.
highlight the fact that that task is important and not doing the task will have some bad consequences for the
Hmm.
company. And this in this way you highlight that the task is uh, it's quite important even if
Yeah.
so in a way, you highlight the task or the
Yeah, and I
value
think
of the
that.
task.
Yeah, yeah, and I really actually love that because sometimes um, if somebody is not interested, if somebody is like not their favorite thing to work on, but if they know that the importance of this task and how it fits into the overall strategy, for the team, that usually can help. Obviously, it can help give people a bit more interest in it because they know, even though they might not interested in the actual specific task, they know that the result is interesting to the overall team and to the overall company, and that actually can definitely help for sure.
And as I say, it's important to know if they like the task that you assign to them, if they are motivated by them, the if they find it difficult or easy, or it's challenging for them in a good way, not in a
Hmm.
stressful way.
Yeah.
I think that these are the main points that I will consider when I would assign a new task and deciding how frequent I should provide feedback to them.
That's great. That's awesome.
Okay, so I hope that this helps you, and maybe you come back and tell me how
Absolutely.
this
Would
work.
love to. Would love to.
So I will go now to ask you about your team. Tell us more about your team and about your company.
Sure. So Solid Trend is an AI dropshipping platform. Basically, if you are looking to create an online business for, an e-commerce business, then you can use Solid Trend to basically create the entire business from scratch, all the way from the creating the actual website, whether it's a Shopify or Sell Shop, which is our own kind of e-commerce platform, all the way to finding the best products to add to your store, marketing, launching, AI ads, basically the whole gamut. I like to call Solid Trend a real all-in-one dropshipping platform. There's a lot of people kind of throw the term around like everybody's an all-in-one platform, but Solid Trend really is an all-in-one platform. If you use Solid Trend, you really don't need to use any other tool to launch and scale your dropshipping business. So I started Solid Trend in 2019. And at that time, we were just kind of like a product discovery tool where you would just kind of find products for your Shopify store. And over the years, we built it into what I just described, which is a complete dropshipping platform. And yeah, so that's kind of really how the company is currently.
Mhm. I know that you were in the music industry and
Yes.
you make this shift. How did you make this change?
Yeah,
Why?
so I call this, I've had like two lives, right? So my first life was as a music producer, and doing TV themes and stuff like that, and had some good success in the music industry, and basically I had to make a shift at one point due to a change in circumstances. And I was always interested though in commerce, right? I was always interested in entrepreneurship and, I always had kind of like that dual interest, right? And actually, like, I went to school for computer science, right? I went to school
Hmm.
for technology and computer science,
Hmm.
right? And then I did a little bit of that and then quit on that, did like whatever, however many years in the music industry, and then came back to technology. And then when I started, I basically realized when I started, I got interested in drop shipping and I started doing drop shipping for myself. And then I quickly realized that the thing that makes any e-commerce business work is the product that you're selling, right? I mean, that's the whole point, right? You're selling something on your website, right? And you're not just building a website to build a website, you're building a website to sell something. And what you're selling is what is going to bring people in and make them buy from you, right? So I realized right away that I needed to find better products for my store. And that basically allowed me to quickly iterate and create basically a tool that allowed me to find the best product. And I started generating a lot of sales by using this internal tool that I created. And that was the beginning of Sell the Trend, right? I then realized, you know what? I still want to produce. I still want to create something and not just sell product. But I really felt like that was my passion, is creating something. That's what it
Hmm.
was in music. I was creating music for people to listen to. And it was Sell the Trend. I'm creating an application for people to use and benefit from, right? So that kind of was the natural transition from just kind of from music into applications.
So you combine the technology with your passion for commerce and also use some kind of your experience from music industry.
Absolutely, because think of it this way, like the whole thing with music is you want to create hits, right? You want to create
Hmm.
something that people can listen to and get attracted to right away and then love, right? And same thing with winning products and Sell the Trend and how it started is you want to find that product that makes people go stop and stare and then want to buy that product
Hmm.
from you, right? So it was very
Hmm.
kind of a natural synergy to both things.
It's a good analogy.
Yes.
Okay, how can people find more about your company and about your products, about you?
Sure. Yeah. So you can find us obviously at sellthetrend.com. We're available on all social media at Sell the Trend. So if you want to hit us up on Instagram or YouTube or any other socials, obviously we'd love to hear from you. And if you have any interest in creating business, an e-commerce business, so that you can either replace your regular job, or if you want to just, you want to launch something brand new, feel free to come in, and we'd love to work with you.
Great. I will put all the links in the show notes. Thank you very much, Rush, for being a guest and for your questions and for your challenge. I think that it's useful for any entrepreneur, because even if we know at an intellectual level how we should proceed in certain situation, in practice, I think that we have difficulties.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to be honest with you, Daniel, thank you so much for the call and for your feedback and for your insights. It's really helpful to kind of connect with people in the industry like yourself, that's their expertise, right? That's what they do. And this session has been really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you have other questions, if you think about what we discussed, you can always write me, and I will be happy to provide more
Appreciate
answers,
it.
more support. Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. If you found value in this podcast, one way to support us is by subscribing. For more tools and insights to enhance your leadership skills and your employees' motivation, visit my website at improvework.ro. There you'll find a variety of online programs and courses. You can also book a free consulting sessions or a discovery call with me. I love to connect and support you on your leadership journey. See you in the next episode.